up to all of my little unicorns, new and old? It's your girl WestIndieRay back again with another video. Honestly, you guys, I'm so sorry for neglecting my YouTube channel. Coming up in like October, maybe November, I'm going to try to go to a 2 upload per week upload schedule after I get all settled, because I'm moving and things have just been crazy. Not to mention the fact that, you know, being a resident of Earth has been kind of stressful, especially as a Black person, as a Black woman in 2020, or really like, you know, being in America as I am right now. It's always been kind of stressful for us, or extremely stressful. We're gonna go with extremely stressful. So a lot of things have been going on. So I just wanna say in the beginning of this video, like, let's make sure to really lift up in energy and in prayer Breonna Taylor's family. We all know, like, there was no justice in that situation. So I just wanted to start off saying that at the beginning of this video. I wanted to prioritize us sending them loving and warm energy, as well as, you know, for everybody out here in the world, because a lot of us are feeling the effects of that as well. So now for the video that I have today, I just wanted to go over some of the common misconceptions that people have of locks, and maybe clear some of those up for you guys who are thinking about starting locks or who have just started locks. Pretty much this is for everybody who's not like years into their lock journey, because there are some things on this list that I wrote on my phone that I simply did not know. So I'm gonna go ahead with, let me number these. Okay, so this is actually going to be the 14 misconceptions, common misconceptions that people usually have of locks. So going in with my number 1 is that locks don't shrink. Now, everybody's like, oh, if your hair doesn't grow long, get locks, because then all the dead hair will stay on and, you know, your locks will be long in no time. It'll just happen like that. It'll just like that. Your locks, for some people, I don't want to speak for everybody, for me, definitely my locks shrunk up so much, and everybody who I talk to say that they've had the same experience, but that's just a part of the process of it knotting together. Like, if you knot a rope several times, it's gonna look a lot shorter than if you just have it, you know, long and regular, like a regular rope. So that's definitely something to think about. Shouldn't be something to discourage you, because once your hair starts growing, it'll kind of pick up the pace really quickly, but it's definitely something that you should know before going into having locks. Number 2 is that your locks will stay curly if you have curly hair, okay? This is a misconception that a lot of people had with my locks specifically, because my hair is so curly and my locks looked curly for a really long time. And they still kind of do look curly, like, in a way on some of them, but they're not really gonna stay like that forever. Now, you can keep your locks curly if you want to. It's just a lot of maintenance of like combing them out, making sure that the ends don't lock up. And sometimes you do get spirals at the end. Like, these spirals at the end of my hair are probably going to stay here for a while, if not forever. My sisters are still there, and she's like 8 years into her journey. So they could stay curly at the very end, but it's not like that style that they have right now, the goddess lock style. It's not really going to stay like that, or have a mix between locks and curl pattern. If you want to do that, you can. It's just going to take a lot of, you know, maintenance. But for the most part, that's a misconception that people have, especially since I started my lock journey. Everybody thinks that, like, oh, she has curly locks, they're just going to stay like that. Like, they're going to lock up, and I'm not going to do anything to stop it. The next thing is that they are not feminine. That is a common misconception that people have, and it's simply not true. I get way more attention as a woman now than I did when I had loose curly hair. Now, historically, people have always tried to pitch Black women as masculine creatures and people who lack femininity, but that's not true. Even the way that we are built, coming from me who ain't got no titties and ain't got no ass, Black women are feminine, and I don't want anybody to ever buy into that belief, because it is a belief that was given to us, not one that we developed on our own. Number 4 is that locks stink. Now, there are some people with some stanky locks, and I don't like that because it gives us a bad name. But if you take care of your hair properly and make sure that you are rinsing it and letting it dry completely before putting it up, or, you know, wrapping it really tight, as long as you're not letting your hair get to the point where it's, you know, not able to dry thoroughly and getting musty, your locks will not stink. Sometimes locks do stink too if you have like product buildup, if you use too much product. So also keep an eye out for that, because that could contribute to smelly locks as well. That leads me into number 5, that you have to use product to maintain locks. This is not true. I know a lot of people who just use oils in their hair or nothing at all. Personally, you guys know I use my lock tonic and I use my oils. Sometimes I use product to retwist, but it's not something that I do often. Most of the time I'll go like a whole month without putting any product in my hair. So there are a lot of people who do that too, or don't ever use product at all. So it doesn't have to be an expensive thing getting locks. It's just up to the person whose crown it's going on. Number 6 is that looser textures lock slow. That's not necessarily true at all. It wasn't the case with me. I feel like my locks kind of locked faster than some of my friends who have kinkier textures. So it's all just subjective. It depends on your hair and how you manipulate your hair. It also depends on that tip that I gave you guys. I should have a link right up here that'll tell you how to lock your hair faster if you are interested in that. There are things that you can do to get your hair to lock faster. So it's not always true that looser textures, you know, lock slower. My hair it was not the case with my hair. My hair actually locked way quicker than anybody thought it was going to. Number 7 is that you cannot wet your locks. And this is like the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard in my life. This is just me speaking from personal experience. I wet my hair all the time. I have since I was 2 weeks locked. I've wet my hair and it actually helped me with the locking process. So that misconception of like people not being able to wet their locks, it just doesn't make sense. Because if you look at where locks were first popularized to the Western world, most notably Jamaica, but you will see that these people are on an island, okay? You think that my uncles were out there like, oh my God, I can't wet my hair, just started locks. Like, that's ridiculous. So you guys, if you feel like you need to get some water on your scalp or wet your hair, feel free to do that, because whoever's telling you that you can't wet your hair, it's not true. Number 8 is that if you have the same lock count as somebody, your locks will look the same. That's not exactly true, just because everybody's hair density is different. My hair might be thicker than yours, so if you get the amount of locks that I have, your hair could look mad thin. Whereas if my hair is thinner than yours and you get the same that I have, your hair could look really thick. So it all just depends. That's why I really push individualized journeys, because I don't want anybody having like expectations that are not going to come true and then for you guys to be disappointed. Number 9, if they unravel or if they are bunching, you need a tool to fix them. This is a perfect example of why I always push individualized lock journeys. My hair is exactly how it's supposed to be. It's processing the way that it's supposed to process. I had bunching on certain parts that looked like it was never gonna go away, and it went away. I have bunching on certain parts that I swore was gonna go away in a few weeks, and it's still here. So if you have an individualized lock journey and you're just willing to accept whatever comes out of your bonnet at any given moment, you will have beautiful hair all the time, okay? You won't be stressing about how it looks or how it doesn't look, and it'll just be your journey. Also, along with the unraveling situation, people ask me all the time, like, my locks are unraveling. Does that mean that I should use a tool for it to fix them? Who's actually and what is actually gonna fix what is meant to be unruly? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like counterintuitive to even say that. And that's not like coming for you guys or trying to drag you. It's just something that I really want to encourage you guys about, to embrace yourself and embrace your own journey. If your hair keeps coming loose, just retwist it. There are some people who freeform lock, and that is one thing I tell you guys always to remember. Your hair will lock. There are some people who don't have their hair in a twist or a coil or a braid, and their hair still locks anyway. So if you just retwist it, your hair will lock, okay? Don't worry about it. You do not need a tool unless you want to use a tool. And if you want to use a tool, go right ahead and use the tool. Number 9 is the myth that you have to condition your hair or else, you know, it's not gonna be healthy. I could probably count on one hand how many times I've conditioned my locks, and I'm coming up on a year literally in like a week. So my hair is color treated. I always make sure to condition it after I do a treatment on it, like a bleaching treatment. I think the only way that you really need to condition your hair a lot is if you're doing something extremely damaging to it. But if you do condition your hair, make sure you keep an eye out for buildup, because you might have to eventually do a ACV rinse just to make sure that the quality of your hair does not diminish from like too much product buildup and it doesn't start smelling and everything. My number 11 myth is that you have to retwist your hair every X amount of months. Now, personally, I like to retwist my hair maybe like once every month or something like that, just to make sure that I don't get too much matting and I don't get too much marrying of my hair. But you can very well just like separate your hair or even just leave it to freeform and do whatever it does. Most of these tips can just be solved by saying that everybody has their individualized lock journey, and as long as you're happy, you're okay. But I'm just gonna go ahead and say it and like spell it out for you, because some of you guys might have these questions and that might be my answer to it, but you guys just need to hear that as it relates to your specific question. So yeah, I definitely don't think that you need to retwist every set amount of months. It really just depends on your hair, how quick your hair marries, and what type of look you want. Do you want that well manicured look, or do you want to be an unruly boss? Like, which one? Number 12 is my biggest one, probably of all of them, and it's that lockologists know your hair better than you do. If you take the time to really get to know your hair, nobody can advise you on what's best, okay? As long as you're not doing anything damaging, causing any wild amount of buildup, leaving your hair to be dry and brittle. And if your hair is dry and brittle, you'll know, and you'll go on my channel and literally YouTube ways to fix it, or that I've found beneficial in fixing dry locks. There's information out there on the web, and the more you follow your intuition, the louder the voice becomes, and you'll know exactly what to do your hair. Whenever you have a problem, whenever you're stressed out, so you have symptoms that show up in your hair, you'll know exactly what it is that you need to do, whether it is a physical thing that you need to do your hair or like a spiritual thing, you will know. So don't ever feel like anybody, even if they're a lockologist, don't ever feel like those people know more about your hair than you do. Now, if you're using wax and putting all type of product and things like that, you might need a lockologist to say those things are not good for you. But if you are really following along the natural path of things and just using your intuition and not putting a lot of things in your hair and not bleaching it a whole bunch and things like that, you shouldn't really have a problem. And if somebody tells you something about your hair that you do not believe to be true, like what happened to my sister when they tried to put all that hair weave in her hair, you know, you'll know to say no to those things. So just make sure that you're following your intuition with your locks. Number 13 is that you have to go to a lockologist if you have bunching. This kind of goes hand in hand with my last one and one of my other ones before about bunching and using tools. A lot of times bunching does resolve itself. Keep an eye on it. If you don't like that look, you might want to see somebody, but a lot of times, like I said, bunching resolves itself. And even if it doesn't, if you're okay with how your hair looks, that's really up to you. Don't ever let anybody tell you how your hair should look, because it's your journey, it's your personal experience. And my last one, which is number 14, is that you have to retwist your locks often in order for them to keep looking good. There are several different things that you can do to make your retwist last longer, including doing lock styles. My sister the other day, she has long locks down to her butt, and her locks she's been growing for like 8 years. I don't think she's ever done a lock style besides this past week. She did a retwist and she put them into 2-strand twists. It looked so cute, and it's going to keep her retwists for way longer than they usually stay. Also, another trick that most locked people know by now is to retwist your front row of your hair. If you're going somewhere fancy and you just need a quick like freshen up, you can do the front row or the front 2 rows, maybe even 3, and your hair will look like you had just got it retwisted. Another thing is just to not care and wake up like this and go on about your day, minding your business and flaunting your crown, because at the end of the day, we don't pay attention to those false narratives and those, you know, ridiculous Eurocentric beauty standards that tell us that our hair is not beautiful and it's not tidy and it looks unkept when we wear it in its natural form. And I want you guys to feel empowered to wear your hair exactly as you want to, exactly as you are, if you feel like it. If you want to just have it look like you did something to it, you can just twist the front row, or you can just put them baby hairs down. But at the end of the day, you don't want to over retwist your hair. If you're retwisting your hair every week or multiple times a week or even every 2 weeks, you're kind of doing it wrong, unless your goal is for your hair to like be really thin, which I don't see anybody having that goal. But if you do, then that's you. I personally, that is one of the only things that I would say, individualized hair journey aside, like don't do that because it will really cause some issues and your locks will thin out a lot. So those are my 14 misconceptions about having locks. You guys know that I love you so much, and I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to really sit down and take time and tell you guys this, because I had this list in my phone for a few days now and I've been dying to record. So make sure that you leave me a little unicorn in the comment section below if you made it to the end of the video. As usual, like, subscribe, comment, and share. Follow all my social media accounts right down there, and I will see you in the next video.